believe it or not, I do have cases that I want to look at that aren't the Disney case. So I'm going to go over this one here. It's Vaughn versus Witzke, defamation case related to gay surrogacy. Plaintiff is Eric Vaughn. He lives in the Houston, Texas area, owns a salon. He has a large social media following on TikTok and Instagram. Over 500,000 people follow him there. He is in a gay marriage and had twins with his husband via surrogacy earlier this year. And the defendant is Lauren Witzke. She lives in Delaware. She's a far right, I guess I should go right, far right wing political activist. In 2020, she ran as a Republican in the U.S. Senate race there in Delaware, but lost. She works in the media. She runs some programs that are on the far right side of the political spectrum. And then she's pretty active on Twitter herself. So those are the parties. And what happened here is, well, let me first go to TikTok. Okay, so here is his TikTok, Mr. Vaughn Trainer. It says, "Follow us as we become dads." And so the video, there, when they had the surrogates, the babies were in NICU for a bit. And so this is the video of them. It says, "Holding our 32-week preemie twins as a family for the first time ever."
Holding our 32-week preemie twins as a family for the first time ever.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
She's put her leg
Oh,
out.
she is just like curling up. I love it.
Hello,
Okay.
sweetheart.
There we go.
There we go, baby
I'm
girl.
gonna get her little hands and feet all situated.
Oh yeah, you do what you need to do.
You don't mind me all in your business
I
here?
do not mind one bit. There
Just
we
wanna
go.
cover her little. Oh yeah, there we go.
Instantly, as soon as you cover
Okay.
her up,
Oh.
she's totally back.
She's settled
Like
back.
instantly.
I know,
There
right?
she is.
Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'll get her all situated.
Yeah, so they're both able to hold the babies.
Look, snuggle up on Daddy.
That was that video was posted sometime in February. March 15 is when I'm assuming that Witzke sees this TikTok video, and so she makes a comment on her Twitter. She tags the video and says, "A new fetish with pedophiles consists of robbing babies from their mother straight out of the womb. This is human trafficking and would be illegal in a sane society." So that's March 15. As of March 17, that tweet had been deleted, and Eric Vaughn, saw the tweet, and he's going to comment about that on his TikTok as well. This video is called "My Response: An Attack on Our Family."
It's taken me a little bit of time to process exactly what is going on right now. When I should be focused on my babies, I'm focused on this. So for those of you who haven't seen it, let me show you the tweet that has been kind of circulating today about us and our family. This is from Lauren Witzke, a politician, I guess you could say. She tweeted, "A new fetish with," that word, "consists of robbing babies from their mothers straight out of the womb. This is human trafficking and in a sane society would be illegal." Lauren Witzke has since deleted that tweet, but continues to spew hatred on her social platforms. One of which she said that allowing gay people to adopt children is like dangling heroin in front of a drug addict. And then also tweeted the couple that did horrific things to their kids, tweeted that and said that that will be us in 4 years. I honestly can't believe I'm even having to address this the same week that my babies came home from the hospital, but I will not tolerate this hatred. She took a very special moment, which included video of my babies that had just been born, and circulated that on the internet, calling me a pedophile. You took newborn babies and posted that around the internet for 6 million people to see. I will not tolerate it. I have retained Houston attorney Tony Busby, and there will be more information coming on Monday.
So as he mentioned in the video, at some point between the 15th, when she posted the tweet, and the 17th, she deleted this tweet but also maybe it was because she had been getting backlash or whatever. She made 2 additional tweets that became the subject matter of the complaint. The first one here, and I don't know what date this was, but it obviously was for the 17th when he made allegations to it. He says, first of all, you're not a real Christian if farming infants off to gay men sits well with you. Second of all, they're public figures and therefore open to criticism. In fact, I hope they sue me too. I'd love to bring national attention to issues of gay pedophiles using the means of surrogacy to have unlimited access to defenseless children. Then she posts a news article, says fast forward 4 years, and it says adoptive gay couple charged with sodomizing their adopted sons, pimped him out, did terrible things. So that's the article she's using to make these statements. And this is what gives rise to the lawsuit. So let's look at the complaint here. But before I get into it, I'm going to tell you what I think is happening here is that Vaughn is seeing the videos and saying, Witzke's calling me a pedophile? What? You know, I'm not a pedophile or human trafficker. And what Witzke thinks she's doing is she thinks she's just bringing attention to how wrong it is to have surrogacy available to gay couples. And so I think there's a disconnect on what Witzke is saying or is thinking she's saying and what Vaughn is hearing. But obviously what Witzke is saying is not said very, what would be the right word? Diplomatically, to say the least. But that's what I think is the bottom line of this. So let's just take a look at the complaint here. Free speech is a celebrated, this is the introduction, by the attorney. Free speech is a celebrated constitutional right in the United States. People are generally free to say whatever they want on whatever subject or about whomever they choose. However, there are limits to this right. Unfettered speech with no regard to the truth of what is being spoken is actionable. It means you can file a lawsuit when it hurts others, as long as it actually is untrue. Indeed, when ignorant, misguided, and nasty individuals maliciously publish vile, nasty, and false statements about others solely to further one's social media presence or to further an ideology or political agenda, there are significant legal consequences. Such is the situation in this case. Plaintiff Eric Vaughn files this original petition against Witzke and then makes the allegations. Plaintiff is a professional hairstylist and owner of Rev Salon in Houston. Plaintiff's Instagram and TikTok pages have hundreds of thousands of followers. So here's some background on him, the relationship. After unsuccessful attempts at adoption, I'd like to know what happened there. Plaintiff and his husband decided to pursue surrogacy. Plaintiff chronicled his family's journey on social media, of course. We saw that. Indeed, plaintiff's future surrogate initiated contact and reached out via social media and offered to help plaintiff and his husband start a family. In October of 2022, plaintiff announced his surrogate was pregnant with twins. Now, I blacked out the birth date. Generally, you don't include birth dates in lawsuits, and the plaintiff did in this case. I know Texas has a rule against doing that, so I blacked it out. Plaintiff's twin girls were born premature at 32 weeks. Plaintiff's surrogate gave birth they gave birth, yep. And they spent 20 and 22 days in the NICU. On or about February 26th, plaintiff posted the TikTok video, which we looked at. And there's a screenshot of that. Most people would view plaintiff's struggle to start a family and the ultimate success of such as a heartwarming story. Not to the defendant. So when I read this complaint, I'm like, I don't personally disagree with the Eric Vaughn's lifestyle choices because he can do what he wants. But I think objectively that statement is not true because there's obviously people that disagree with this lifestyle choice. I mean, that's just objective reality. Welcome to Earth. So part of me thinks that this is an example of this plaintiff stretching a little bit too far. And I just wouldn't do that because I already think again, this is a disconnect on communication. And so if we're already stretching things to the furthest limits, it's just not, it's not the way I would want to do it. I'd want to just say, show that I'm being realistic. But this is too far of a stretch to say that. That's obviously not true. I mean, it's true that the defendant didn't view it as a heartwarming story, but then I guess I should say maybe it is true because he's saying most people, and then maybe most people that's true. But I'm saying there's obviously people who would not agree with it. Not everyone. So maybe I spoke too soon on that. But just when I first read that, I'm like, I don't know, is that true? Anyway, on or about March 15, 2023, defendant reposted plaintiff's video, and we saw that. What she said. That was her first post. Rather than congratulating plaintiff on one of the happiest moments of his life, or perhaps just ignoring plaintiff's happy post, defendant instead decided to spew hate and lies on the internet in an unprovoked and harmful manner. Defendant's allegations of pedophilia and trafficking of human persons is so vile and obviously harmful that plaintiff's reputation may never recover. Plaintiff's outrageous lies are especially reckless because in Texas, someone convicted of indecency with a child is not only a convicted felon, but may be subject to civil commitment in a mental institution. And then he goes on to actually cite the criminal code of indecency with a child, trafficking of persons, and there's another one here, I believe. Yeah, civil commitment of predators. And then this is another one where I think they're stretching a little bit too far. To add insult to injury, defendant not only attacked the plaintiff, but also attacked the state of Texas by claiming that Texas is not a sane society. I'm going to go back to the tweet where he's getting that. This is human trafficking and would be illegal in a sane society. So he's saying that's talking specifically about Texas. Which, just when you read that, you wouldn't know that. So he's saying we're attacking Texas, and the reason he's saying that is because that's why they're saying they can file the lawsuit in Texas, is because Texas was brought up. So this is just a jurisdictional tactic. It is clear the defendant made Texas, so that's not clear, and the fact that surrogacy is not only not a crime in Texas, but is acceptable in the Lone Star State, one of her focal points. I would think she's talking more about America than Texas because she's from Delaware and was trying to be, even not knowing who she is, I wouldn't have known that had anything to do with Texas. By her maliciousness, defendant voluntarily made sufficient contacts with this forum and has subjected herself to the reach of Texas's long-arm jurisdiction. So, yeah, to clear any doubt, defendant herself indicated that she hoped that plaintiff would sue her, but she didn't say in Texas. Again, it's just, to me, it's like we're stretching things a little bit too far, and it's hurting his credibility, in my mind. Defendant doubles down after defendant's ignorant and vile post received backlash. Rather than just remove it and offer an apology for her stupidity, but again, she did remove it by the time this complaint was filed. She deleted that tweet as of the 17th, and this was filed on the 20th. Defendant shockingly instead doubled down on her malicious lies by again calling plaintiff a pedophile. See below. First of all, this is the tweet. First of all, you're not a real Christian if farming infants off to gay men sits well with you. Second of all, they're public figures and therefore open to criticism. In fact, this is the sentence. I'd love to bring national attention to issue of gay pedophiles using the means of surrogacy to have unlimited access to defenseless children. And then she posts the article saying that fast forward 4 years, suggesting that that Eric Vaughn would be his new story in 4 years. Plaintiff is not a pedophile, pimp, or human trafficker. Plaintiff has suffered irreparable harm to his reputation and continues to suffer harm and now brings this suit. So in these statement of facts sections, when you're drafting a complaint, is where you tell the story. And then after you tell the story, you say what causes of action you're bringing, what legal claims are you bringing based on this story. And so what I would have liked to see, say I'm the juror or some internet dude looking at this, I don't want you to just say, I've suffered irreparable harm. I want to say, if you're sharing the story, share with me what harm you experienced. Did you lose business at your salon? Did someone throw a brick through your window? Are you receiving hate comments, online? What's happening? Or is it just that you're losing sleep, or it's the only thing that's on your mind? Just tell me what it is, rather than just say you're suffering this harm. If you're telling me the story, tell me the story. So here we have parties and jurisdiction. Again, I'm questioning whether Texas is the right place for them to be, because she didn't actually say anything to Texas. The relief requested is within the jurisdictional limits of this court. This is the county in which plaintiff resides at the accrual of his causes of action. Personal jurisdictions exist against defendants as Texas society was the focal point of the alleged libel and thus concerns the forum. Again, I think that's such a stretch, because she didn't say anything about Texas. I don't even know if anyone would know that he was in Texas. I didn't know he was from Texas. She didn't say anything about Texas. They're just trying to say the focal point was Texas because that's how they're going to get jurisdiction. And so I did look up this case that they're citing as support, Johnson versus the Huffington Post, which was a Texas case. And just the summary of that case is that it was on appeal. The appellate court affirmed the district court, so the trial court level. It confirmed the district court's dismissal for lack of specific personal jurisdiction, where allegedly libelous story published online had no ties to Texas, did not mention Texas, recounted a meeting that took place outside of Texas, and used no Texan sources. So, I mean, I guess the distinction he might be trying to make is that Vaughn is a Texan source, but she didn't mention Texas. This is just a commentary of. So anyway, my point in all of that is, I'm not confident that this case should be in Texas. I think if he wanted to sue her, he might have to sue her in Delaware, where she lives. And then so he's here in other jurisdictional issues. He's keeping the claim under $75,000 because if two parties are from different states, you can remove the case from state court to federal court if the amount in controversy exceeds $75,000. So what they're saying is that we're not seeking more than $75,000 because we don't want you to remove it to federal court. Why that might be, I don't know. Maybe they think they just have a better shot at their case in Texas. But obviously this is going to implicate First Amendment issues under the U.S. Constitution, which he referenced in the introduction of his lawsuit. And so maybe they, for some reason, don't feel like a federal court would be the best place for them to make those arguments about the Constitution, for whatever reason that might be. And it could just be something as innocent as it's cheaper to pursue the case in state court. I don't know. So the causes of action are all just basically defamation, common law, statutory. Libel per se means that I don't have to prove damages because of what you said was so terrible. And of course, then their damages that he's seeking is no more than $75,000. So that there is the case. And I will give you some of my thoughts about why I think this case is an interesting one, and then my thoughts on the case. But the gist of this is that when I had my own practice, I was not particularly excited about taking any defamation cases or things like that, and I would get calls about it a lot seemed like people wanted to sue people for defamations, neighbors, things of that nature. But I only took one defamation case because the client was wanting to pay me by the hour for it. A pretty high price that I gave her because I didn't want to take the case. But I took that case and we did end up winning it. But they're not my favorite cases. And now recently in the news, it seems like you're seeing more and more defamation cases. Like you had the Dominion Fox News case. Of course, you had the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, and then the Alex Jones case. And these are all big cases that get a lot of notoriety in the press and big dollars attached to the claims. And so I'm wondering, if defamation is something that we're going to see more and more in the courts, more people chasing after these high dollar personal injury type damages. And in this particular case, what concerns me is that Witzke made her comment on March 15, and on March 17, Vaughn had already made the decision to file a lawsuit for up to $75,000. So, and I don't even know when that tweet was deleted or the other tweets came on, but sometime within that 2-day period was he defamed $75,000 worth. It just doesn't seem. It seems odd to me that would be the case. And like I mentioned before, my view of this case, and there is a defense to defamation claims, where basically if it's an opinion masquerading as fact. And I think that's kind of what we have in this situation, where Witzke was trying to make an opinion that surrogacy shouldn't be available to gay couples, and she made it in a very poor, confusing way. But she did it in a way where I do think it could be interpreted as defamatory towards Vaughn, wherein I think maybe a reasonable person might say she was announcing that he was, in fact, those things that she said, criminal. I just personally don't think that, but I wouldn't say someone couldn't think that, if that makes sense. And so ultimately, a defamation case, the judge looks at it first and decides if the court thinks it arises to a defamatory statement. If the court's not sure, that's when they'll refer it over to a jury and say, you guys decide if this person was defamed. But I think it's a close call in this case. And so I want to hear what you have to think about it. Do you think that Witzke defamed Vaughn? Do you think that she should pay him up to $75,000, or how much do you think it's worth if you do think he was defamed? Right now, again, I've said this before, but I'm not totally confident he's sustained any damages. I felt like if he did have them, he would have mentioned what types of damages they were in the actual complaint itself, but he didn't. So I don't know what value this case is. I don't know how good it is on the law. Only time will tell. But let me know what you think in the comments.